I finally got a water filter carafe from Waterdrop from my mum's house. This has made the water taste so good. Sometimes in some certain areas in Dublin, the water can taste a bit dodgy. The filtration is so fast and it just is so tasty. It's making me drink so much more water. Also, this Waterdrop water bottle that I've had keeps your water so cold. You can put ice cubes in it and you'll still have ice cubes in it hours later. My favourite cubes, the Waterdrop cubes, are the glow ones. It's like a mango flavour, really, really tasty, and I'm just sucking it back all day. This bottle is also very easy to clean, and I recently just got 2 sizes of the Waterdrop thermoses. This also keeps your drinks hot for ages. I always bring one in my car because my baby usually falls asleep during long journeys and I don't want to take her out before her nap is finished, so I just park the car, I have my hot beverage there with me and I get to read, and it's really nice and relaxing getting to listen to the rain and just have a moment to myself. I feel recently and see myself as quite actually beautiful. There's no motivational speech I watched or a TED Talk or a podcast that I listened to that was like, you need to love yourself, so now you do. I don't feel like I can achieve that with self-care books either. I've gone through phases of reading self-care books, but I immediately went back to my self-destructive behaviour. I have been, for as long as I can remember, been at war with myself for no one's fault other than my own. I mean, I have gone through phases of being and it probably is, there's an element to it of toxic past relationships, bad friendships, and also the world is just constantly telling us that we're not good enough, women that is. And in the last while, particularly in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I genuinely feel like the best version of myself, because, and I feel almost ashamed of myself for even admitting that, because that maybe it's like the Irish self-deprecation thing, where we can't give ourselves a compliment or like ourselves for fear of being like, oh, they're fucking up their own hole. Even if this inspires someone else to admit to liking themselves, like, I think that's a positive thing. Yeah, I really genuinely, I'm liking myself at the moment. Obviously there's some attributes that I'd like to continue to improve on, like, and there's things that I always want to learn, but in terms of like my appearance and how I feel within myself, I am really liking myself a lot. I think that is actually just down to having time to spend on my own. In terms of body image, I've never had an issue with body image. Like, I've never been like in relation to too fat or too skinny. It's not something I've experienced. Maybe the transition into puberty, you know, when your body starts to change, I was kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And then another time when I was on the pill, but I think that was more so to do with the hormones of being on the pill rather than my actual body shape. And when I was pregnant, that was the most ever comfortable I felt in my skin, and so proud of my body and the abilities that I had and the capabilities of growing another person and the function. It really just had a more focused on the functionality of the human body rather than the aesthetic appearance of it, or the desirability or fucking objectification of your own body. It was more just like, this is what I was meant to do. This is the purpose of my body. After I gave birth, obviously I had a pretty difficult birth. My vagina really was like torn apart. It has taken me a long time to heal from that and to kind of accept that my vagina does look, it's hard to admit, and I feel like people are going to think that I'm being dramatic when I say that my vagina is deformed. Now, it still has a functional purpose, like the hole is still there, but my actual vulva and like the labia is completely deformed. My stitches were like unraveling, and I don't think I was sewn up correctly to begin with. Just doctors and midwives are completely overworked, so this stuff is bound to happen. So I'm not like blaming anyone or being like, fuck my hospital or my caregivers. It's just like, he probably was running off no sleep for 3 days. He had just come from another emergency. I mean, he was trying to get it done as quick as possible. That's fair enough. And then also with the breastfeeding, my boobs now are changing over time. I did get fitted for a bra, and I think I've lost like half the size of that. My weight is also fluctuating a lot, so some clothes are like hanging on me differently. I'm constantly trying to catch up with how my body is changing and to accept myself, because I feel like as soon as I've accepted one version of myself, the next week my body will look completely different. It's to kind of have the coping mechanisms to be constantly accepting and loving of yourself, which in the beginning I didn't really have time to do because I was so sleep deprived and looking after B the whole time. Whereas now, because I have that time to myself, it's like, it's really facing me with these issues that I had. And I think being single is more putting it at the forefront of my mind, because obviously you first jump to, no one is going to love this body, and then the whole like, so I don't know, I even feel embarrassed talking about this now because I'm a ma, and it's like, mas can't talk about sex. And I've had a real, even though I was kind of doing it at the start, but then I kind of drifted away from it because I felt uncomfortable because I wasn't having sex because my vagina was like fucked up, and it was taking so long to heal. Whereas now, because my body is like, and the hormones as well, when you're breastfeeding, you're just not interested in sex whatsoever. So I kind of actually felt a bit disgusted by it. Whereas now I'm like getting more in tune with my sexuality and sensuality again. So I'm just going to talk about it for a quick sec. So when I was younger, probably to do with Catholic guilt, to be honest, I didn't masturbate until I was like, I did the odd dry humping obviously, yeah, but I didn't masturbate until I was like 21, 22, which I don't know if that's late. Maybe other people can tell me in the comments, but for me, and in relaying these stories to my friends, I feel like that's a really late time to masturbate for the first time. I mean, some boys are like fucking going at it by the time they're 8, but so that was the first time, and it was just because I felt ashamed of it. And even at that, I wasn't doing it regularly. I was just like kind of, you know, the only time I ever wanted to pleasure myself, or the only time that I felt like I deserved that I was deserving of pleasure, was in relation to or in proximity of a man and getting validated by a man and having sex with a man, which is really interesting now looking back on it. even though that wasn't that long ago, I mean, it was 5 years ago, but even in retrospect, looking back on that, that's really strange, where the only time I'd be like, enjoy pleasure is in relate, like I wasn't able to do it just on my own. Where obviously now that's grand, but since going through a breakup, and I think also maybe it's to do with the Madonna whore complex, that after I've had a baby, I'm like totally disgusted by like me having a wank. Do you know what I mean though? Like I haven't been able to. So I've been trying to like get more in touch with my body again, in terms of, because again, being a mom, I'm like, I'm not allowed to have sex. Obviously I'm not interested in like casual sex, but it's gone too far to the point where my brain is like, you can't pleasure yourself at all. So I've been trying to like get in tune with my sensuality and sexuality again. And obviously I think that having open and honest conversations about sex is a positive thing, because it desensitizes people, and to make something a less taboo topic, it makes it less dirty for women, you know, that are suffering from vaginismus, or that can't enjoy sex at all, or think that it's to do with being in relation to a man or pleasuring, or the importance being on pleasuring a man. And that was because I never had open and honest conversations about sex. Whereas now I feel like in the future, having open and honest conversations about sex, people are more comfortable with it, and then it's less like of a dirty thing, and less for children to think that they're doing something like I first found out about sex when I was like 6. I think that's too young, but that's because children at my age were like, and if you had access to the internet or whatever, you'd be like, oh, look at this, and it would be all secretive. Whereas it's less exciting, I suppose, and bold if people are talking about it openly. I'm not going to be bringing it up with my daughter until maybe she comes to me with it first, but my biggest fear is her finding out about it from maybe her friends' older siblings, or like older cousins, or someone else that's not an adult, because it's just a skewed vision of what sex is that I don't want for her to have. And I also don't want her to be stripped of her innocence too young. I'll probably figure it out more along the way, or do a bit more research on how to approach talking about sex with children. So I have been feeling really beautiful and actually really liking my own company, which is so important. I think for the first few weeks after my breakup, I literally, when B was at her dad's, I would just stare at a wall or rot in bed on my phone, because I didn't want to be left alone with my own thoughts. And I didn't think that I deserved to have nice time if I wasn't with someone. And I kept telling myself, oh, I don't like doing these things alone. But you can like doing things alone because you like doing them in general. So why am I depriving myself of doing nice things just because I'm alone? There's no point in doing that. My weekends have been jam-packed. Like, I've been really enjoying myself and doing nice things, and I think that's how I've come to really liking myself just in general. And even the fact that I'm making more effort, putting more effort into my appearance, like getting dressed every day, doing my makeup and skincare and showering, they're just like little acts of kindness that I'm giving myself that previously I wouldn't have, because I thought that I didn't deserve it, to the extent where if I was thirsty, I wouldn't give myself a glass of water, just because I was saying in my head, I'm not arsed, but that is actually just like sort of a self-destructive behaviour where I feel like I don't deserve it. I obviously have been doing worse things in my past, like going out a lot and binge drinking, which is all fine. I think when you're young, that's just like something you have to experiment, like you don't have to, but most people just experiment with. But for me, I was doing it more so because I felt like I had nothing better to do, or I was trying to escape in some way. Oh yeah, so with the sex thing. So with trying to come back to myself and my body and my sexuality, I'm thinking I might get myself a full, because I did get measured for a bra and peaches and cream.